give a plug for our friends in here, Ninjas vs. Monsters, who are screening immediately after us. So you guys can stick around. Those of you who are staying, you can stick around for their screening at 3. So, which amazing, it's almost 3 now. So,
Wow.
we've broken the thing for you guys. You just plug in and go. So, yeah. So any questions? Oh, and we have Lion Beckwith, the man with the massive arms. He's in costume as himself back there. What's that?
He's in Ninjas vs. Monsters too.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
Oh yeah, yep, there you go. So, but yes. So any questions about anything? Well, the next time is like the next time we get, a few $100,000, $1 billion. So yeah, these were the pilot episodes. So we put this together basically as a, as a way to get people involved in the story and then try to build a following. And granted, you're going to want more than just the 20 minutes or so. So we're working on expanding the story in kind of like prose fiction, maybe a webcomic, and some other ways. And then we would love to get involved with somebody like all the new content producers like Netflix, Amazon's throwing their hat in the ring, and a bunch of other, Spotify, a number of other companies are tossing their hat in the ring. So we're hoping that one of them wants a fantasy series that we could do probably, certainly cheaper than Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Which is about $4 million an episode.
Right.
Wow.
So we want to do it for more money than we just did. We do want to bring up the production values and everything like that, but
But
we
I
can
think it's
still do it for
amazing
considerably less.
I think it's amazing what we ended up doing for $50,000.
Definitely.
We're taking donations now.
Yes, Lion will be the large muscular man standing at the door. Give him all your money before you leave.
We only have $7, so sorry. How did you? You said the budget was 50, and you got that from Kickstarter. How did you? I know what a struggle that can be. How did you get it up to 50? What was your?
I am actually. We're preparing a presentation about this, but
Yeah.
what were you going to say?
Oh, well, yeah, one, we researched as much as possible. The Lee Moyer, the person who did our wonderful Broken Continent graphic design, had written a white paper. You can probably Google, Kickstarter Lee Moyer and find that. He had a lot of tips for a board game Kickstarter he did. And so, yeah, we took a lot of notes on that. Basically, and you guys can jump in when you want, but it dealt a lot with sort of figuring out before we started the campaign, who we wanted to reach out to. Blogs, media outlets that might be interested from any of the angles. Sci-fi fantasy, the fact that we're shooting a medieval fantasy in Washington, D.C. area, hopefully was going to be interesting to some local people. Of course, friends and family and those people they knew, and trying to line all of those up so you could have as big a splash as possible when you opened up the campaign.
And the other thing was we got Roy Cox Photography to do our photos of our characters that you see for the stand-ups and everything, and we just went for great visuals just to catch people's eye, and we spent a lot of time preparing that initial Kickstarter video we did, which was a parody on Princess Bride a little bit, and that attracted a lot of attention as well. So it was just any hook we could get in visually, we tried to go for it.
I just want to check with Spider-Man, is everything okay? I know you got a call in the middle of the screening. I did see like a few Venoms outside, so just in case things are getting a little crazy. But I would say rule number 1 to crowdfunding anything, be popular or get involved with popular people. Seriously. Because it's like I have seen a number of people, like Facebook is like so important. And each of us, I think we all have like at least 1,000 friends on Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not that good.
Okay. Well, Kelly and I both have like 1,000 plus friends, and Bjorn has like a huge network himself too. And so that is very important.
Yes.
But it's hugely important because I see people try to do the Kickstarter thing. They have like 200 friends on Facebook. It's not a guarantee. You could have. I saw some people who had like 4,000 friends and managed to raise like $200 of a $4,000 goal or something. So I mean, but it definitely helps because you want people who are on the computer and will say, oh sure, I'll pull out my credit card and give you some money.
And I think that's an important thing we found. I'm going to do time between the two of them. That's an important thing I think we discovered, especially in the first Kickstarter campaign. You need to keep a steady flow of updates and any sort of teaser content you can add throughout the whole campaign. Plus, while you're doing that, you're messaging your true believers, the people like, in some cases, we cast everybody before we started the Kickstarter campaign. Because originally we were going for basically a 45-minute pilot. So that was one of the stretch goals. We got money to get sort of our original goal, which was what you guys saw here. Plus we did the second to make sure the visual effects were just so. But we found we really need to, every week or so, add something every couple days, add some content, remind people to get out the word.
You just have to be relentless
Yeah.
online and just be unafraid to beg.
Yeah.
I mean, it wears on you after a while,
It
all the
really-
begging, but you have to do it. You just have to do it.
It's really the difference of like if you were out, like say in a metro station, and you put your guitar case down and then hope it fills up with money. It's much less effective than playing your guitar and hoping it fills up with money. I mean, that's like the difference. It's like some people will start the campaign and wait
And
till
then
they're like,
let it
it's
go.
like, oh my
Right.
gosh, there's only a day left. We better say something.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it's like it's constant, and it really, I mean, it was a monumental effort.
And we did the official press release route too, and we sent the press release to every media outlet we could find. We ended up on io9.com, which was nice. They picked it up, but again, I think they picked it up because of the visuals too. If you spend some initial money just getting great visuals, that goes so far. That goes so far.
Yeah, and that's just in the breakdown of the budget, it's significant. I mean, if you're marketing and trying to get the word out for the big Hollywood folks, it's a huge expense, and for us, even though we're trying to be very thrifty and trying to be very grassroots, it costs some ducats for swag and stuff, and then it costs a lot of time. So yeah, I think it's definitely doable for anybody with a Kickstarter campaign, but man, you need to know the
You gotta be
effort.
committed.
Yeah, and then you'll be committed afterwards, so to speak.
Other questions? Yes.
I was wondering what particularly went into the world building of the culture, whether you reached back to a certain element of history or a certain country, and what details you incorporated into the piece that you thought were particularly special in terms of tying that to whatever.
I did draw from certain historical cultures and things like that, and particularly like, of course, we had a casting call of about 500. Or people, like 500 people responded to our casting call locally. And we got all kinds of people, and it was like trying to figure out where to put everybody. Because in this mystical world, I wanted people like, different races to come from different places and everything like that, and establish that within the world. So that was important. You had to figure out where do people come from. So we have 2 African American actors in our pilot. And the backstory for them is that originally they came from a place called Zora, which is like the Persian Empire of its time. And when Illyrian was broken into 5 pieces, they basically took advantage and invaded the 5 shards. And so that is why. And then some are escaped from Zora as like refugees, and then others, like in Diarmid's case, is kind of because he comes from the Eye, which is different from the Heart, where this story takes place. And there are just some there historically, and he's kind of 3rd or 4th generation. But I took so that was Persia. Then the Fist is sort of an island of Spartans, basically. It's like Spartan culture, the entire Fist, and those guys are like the most warrior-like of all the 5 shards. And then we had like if we can get the money, there's like the crown is supposed to be, the Bronze City is supposed to be almost steampunk-like, and they have, or if you're a big Skyrim fan, the
Like
Dwemer,
the Dwemer,
yeah, like the Dwemer, we'll see if we can make some mechanical creatures and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so there's a combination, and everything draws inspiration from everything else you've seen. It's just telling different stories in different lands. But yeah, I definitely looked to some historic examples, and Ariana's character. Her accent is based off of her aunt. So, and the reason for that is that the Zurins, like the occupation of the Blade, where she comes from, is had the longest Zurin occupation, and it's like Moorish Spain, and so that's why she has a different appearance from everybody, different accent and stuff like that. So it's the Zurin influence on the Blade, and so that was something that a real life historical example that I kind of worked into the story. So, and it grows from there. That's the fantastic part about doing something like this, is that you get to create the reality from nothing, and it's a really fun feeling. So, yeah. Yes.
Have you been working with the local food commissions to help you out? That's right.
We have not been working with the local film commission, so we did talk to the Frederick Film Office,
Yes.
and they were helpful.
They were very, very helpful.
No, we didn't end up finding any locations.
Carl Glorioso, yeah, Carl Glorioso of the Frederick Film. I will say he talked to us, he helped us out. We ultimately didn't use any locations up there, but he was helpful. The other guys, we tried the Maryland Film Office, and I think unless you're coming in with a few $1 million, they don't care. So it's kind of rough. And DC, I mean, obviously, it's like there's only so many locations we could have shot in DC. There was a couple. We were looking at, I want to say the National Arboretum I was interested in because they had like these very cool columns and stuff like that. But they charge you exorbitant rates to try to get in and do that stuff because they know what they've got. And people come in and do photo shoots and things like that. We'll drop a few $1,000 just for that. So we could not drop like thousands of dollars on location fees because every penny counted for what we were doing.
We ended up at a farm in Middleburg, Virginia, where we shot most of it. Unfortunately, it was great looking place. Had the stone wall that we had featured in some of the shots. Unfortunately, it was a half an hour from Dulles. And that meant every 5 minutes there was a jet coming in.
And apparently Dulles was closed the day we went location
Yeah, the
scouting.
day we scouted it, didn't hear a single plane. The entire 3 days we were shooting there, it was non-stop planes. So lots of applause for our sound guy, our sound design, most of the planes.
Yeah, well, to be fair, there wasn't always planes, and that's where the motorcycles came in.
Right, motorcycles came in too.
And,
Anyway, sorry.
Our other location, our Maryland location, was Bowie, Maryland, White Marsh Park in Bowie, Maryland, gorgeous park, and has a series of nature trails that are horribly underutilized. So I actually lived next to that park for about 2 years, and said, let's see if this is a possible location. And Matt Reno was our contact with the city, incredibly helpful, and they let us have that for nothing. And we got full run of the trails and everything like that. And it was just a tremendous location. It worked out great, and so I would recommend all of you go check out the trails at White Marsh Park because there's nobody there, and it's just they're great nature trails to go and walk.
No Dulles planes, huh?
Yeah.
No planes.
Nobody thinks of nature when you think of PG County. So. Yeah, other question?
One of the things I thought you did really effectively was the music, both your theme and the scoring. Do you have an expertise in that, or do you go find somebody, or?
The composer is Mr. Noah Potter, who is based in Los Angeles. He's a friend of mine who has scored my 2 feature films and lent me music for all kinds of other stuff. He did the music for this. He's done a number of things. You can look him up, noahpotter.com, I think,
Yeah.
or look him up on SoundCloud. You can see his a lot of the other stuff that he's done. So yeah, we were very happy with that, and that was kind of one of the last things. We had scheduled a screening for cast and crew last month, and we made a hard deadline because sometimes that's what you have to do in order to get people to do things. Yeah. So, and I'm one of them. But so we set that deadline, and then so we were getting music in at the very last second, and Seth and Kelly were there and trying to get this in from Noah in
Right.
LA, just throwing it on Dropbox, and then they would pull it and then put it in. And we actually, it's nice because with digital music, you can take a guitar riff, for example, and then put it wherever you want. So there was a little bit of that. You could move stuff around to make it more effective, or take a particular refrain or something like that, and then move it to another spot or something to. When you saw it, it was like, oh, well, that doesn't quite work, but we can just move it over here, rather than have Noah completely rescore the entire scene or something. So but we've had a lot of great comments about the score. We're very happy with it.
Have you written a book
I have not.
of this story?
I am starting to do that now. I'm going backwards. So, because if I'd written the book and I, said it's and then the army of 500,000 marched upon the field and stuff like that,
And then somebody would say, it's nothing like the book.
Gotta
right? It's well, we condensed the 500,000 into one rather large guy. So yeah, right, yeah, Lion's the one man army of 5,000. So we, so I'm doing that now because in order to kind of keep the content coming and to give people more about the world and stuff, I said, I got the suggestion, why don't you novelize the pilot. And I thought, oh yeah, that's great, because then I can add all kinds of backstory details that don't appear on screen, because you don't hear what characters are thinking and stuff like that. So I can add all that and still remain pretty faithful. So if you decide to read the thing first and say, wow, it's really faithful to the book. So, and the great thing about it is that the plot is already there. There's a lot of dialogue. I can just add on to that. But that I am trying that now, because I've never written prose in any meaningful kind of way. So I'm diving into it now, and it's a bit intimidating because having written for the screen, you write for the screen, it's like it's all going to show up on screen somehow. If it ends up getting cut out, then you were a bad screenwriter, you know. So whereas with the novel, I mean, it's like a big wide open canvas, and you can just kind of then it's a matter of stopping yourself, you know. It's like okay, maybe that's too much. Maybe I should dial that back. But so it's a very different kind of writing, but it's great, and I'm hoping to be able to do that sooner rather than later. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Seth, you have a
So,
question?
no, it's just something you guys didn't touch on, but what did you use SAG or After Actors and did
Oh,
everyone get paid?
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
that was the big thing. So
Yes.
I can talk about the casting process,
Yes.
but I was just going to talk about the fact that almost every single person, crew and cast, got paid on this.
Yes.
Which we were so proud of, because it's so rare for independent film in any area to. And that's not knocking people, you don't pay people. I mean, you do what you have to do. That's why we went the Kickstarter route, because we wanted to pay people, and we had to have help to get there. So.
You perhaps not that long ago on Facebook, there were the VFX solidarity green screens on everybody's profile. Yes. We were some of them, and we said, we paid our VFX artists. It's like, if we can do it, then freaking Hollywood can. So.
Yeah,
Yeah, really.
absolutely. Which actually, I think, segues into what I was mentioning. The other intimidating step is, which is actually one of the first questions, like, when will there be more episodes? One of the things I think we discovered is if we were doing our best to make this as professional as possible, but even before and certainly during and after, like, man, next time we really want an X equaling a long list of things. In part, being able to pay people more, because, you know, people were very nice, we paid them, but in some cases they gave us a deal, and if we're trying to do a lot of episodes, we're going to tie up a lot of their time, and, you know, so there's that. So it will probably be a long road to shop around and try and impress people, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to do additional fiction, possibly audio drama, graphic novels and other things to basically expand the world. So something cool for folks such as yourselves to see, but then also it really shows people, yes, this is a cool world that we want to spend more time in. So I'd also mention, yeah, if you did think this was cool, please spread the word, because it will only help you see hopefully more cool stuff from this. If you don't think it's cool, you know, you can probably come out and beat us up after Lion is gone.
Right, you have to talk to Lion first. So, but yeah, you know, follow us on Twitter, at Broken Continent, like us on Facebook. All of those things, those metrics count, because like when if we try to go to somebody like Amazon or Netflix, they're going to say, well, is anybody watching your pilot? And like, that's what we have to show them. It's like, look, we have a fan base. You know, that's like basically the thing about the Veronica Mars Kickstarter is that it wasn't really even so much for the money to make the thing, because it's going to cost way more than they're actually raising. But what it demonstrates to them is like, oh, there's people who will pay to see this thing made and actually watch it. So it was a show of faith really for Warner Brothers to say, it's like, okay, your thing has legs, we'll greenlight this picture. So that's essentially what we're trying to do, albeit on a smaller scale, you know, until we get Kristen Bell to come on as a character. Yeah. So is there anything else? If not, we're gonna. Oh yes.
Is there anything you would do differently in the pilot, or anything that you would shop or?
Oh, yeah,
Well, we only have 5 minutes.
Hey,
Give us your phone number, we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk. Just a quick little story. So I was very, very, very ill during the 5 days of shooting, to the point where I was barely standing, and that sword fight at the very end was the first day we shot, and I was the sickest. And so not being sick for shooting a pilot while sword fighting would be awesome.
Also not needing 7 clones of you.
Yes,
would be
and
good.
I was also a producer, I was caterer, I was editor, I was in it for 2 characters. I was, you know, it was a little much. Next time, not so much. Other people doing work would be great. That's fine.
Right.
I'm done.
Okay. Oh yes.
What is the current fan base?
What is the current fan base?
Yeah.
Yeah. Raise your hand. All right. Yeah.
No, we've gotten a few thousand views on the pilot so far. We're hooked up through Vimeo, so we can watch statistics and things. But
And we released our first episode last month, so it's basically
It's only
been
been a
out.
month,
Yeah, so
so-
we're like this event here is really like our kind of our publicity campaign, so to speak,
Yeah.
for as cheaply as we can do it, and the cost of a metro ride.
and we still have to do another round of press releases and things. But yeah, we're working on it.
So what that translates to is watch it as many times as possible.
From as many different IPs.
We have, as you've learned, we have no shame about this.
No, of course.
The big Hollywood folks have no shame. Why should we?
Any merchandise?
Yes. You know what? We're between merchandise right now. But those of you who are here, if you'd like a button, we have buttons. So we've got those, and we are going to be opening up a merchandise store.
We're almost done with that.
Okay, we're almost again between merchandise.
Yeah, we're going to be selling things from the website too at
Yeah.
BrokenContinent.
We were kicking ourselves that we didn't have a table, but then we were like, what would we sell precisely?
We have T-shirts, we have stickers, we have T-shirts, things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's all right.
That'd be for these folks here.
And if any of you wants to go home with one of our lovely standees, we are accepting cash offer.
I just want my standee back clean.
Yeah.
Well, we did promise PG-13.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we have to
Sorry.
learn. All right. Anything else? Or we're going to turn it over to the Ninja versus Batman.
Thanks.